Hi everyone, I'm Tracy, your host for Chandler's Channel, and today's session is our monthly reading for October 2013. So if that's what you're here for, please stay tuned. I'll go get Whitehawk in just a second, but I always think it's very important to touch back on the previous reading, in this case the monthly reading, because I'm trying to teach you how to use your own intuition. And if you keep track of this or your own intuitive thoughts in a journal, then you can go back and you can compare and you say, oh, well, that's what that meant. So that's why I always touch back to create an awareness. All right, so for September 2013, I just looked up two words, malady and melancholy, because Whitehawk had mentioned them. And I want to state this right away because I'll forget. Malady, he says, in the dictionary is defined as a disease or ailment. And melancholy is a deep, long-lasting sadness. And the reason why I wanted to define those is just for clarification. Because Whitehawk had said that although it will be a crisp and cool month and change of season for many, it will be a week of malady, melancholy, devastation, and for many, the end of days. So, and about warfare too. And he did say the Middle East, and stuff is going on and continues. But the warfare it ended up, if you look back on this previous week's reading, was to rage within ourselves and society and the insensitivities we have towards each other. So if you think about September, and this is what I know, there might be a lot more that happened, so please feel free to comment and mention them as well, because I'm not all-knowing. In September, you had the Syrian chemical warfare that happened. There was the Navy base shooting. There was the Chicago shootings. There was the Nairobi Mall bombing. There was like a New Zealand, there was a body of a Canadian woman found in there. Oh gosh, what else was there? And then for me, more personally, well, in Ottawa, the bus train crash that occurred that took my friend Dave Woodard's life, and was it 4 or 5? I'm sorry, and I don't mean to do this injustice to any of the victims or their families. Other people who lost their lives. So Whitehawk was right on the money about it being a month of malady and melancholy and just absolute devastation. So I just wanted to touch back on that, and I hope that this is a better month. I really do, because it's this month has certainly taken its toll. And I'm trying to remember what else. He was so apropos what he had said. Oh, the warfare that he had spoken of. I think I already mentioned. Sorry, I'm speaking and repeating myself is what I'm trying to say. About the warfare, and the warfare was about the insensitivity on the internet and through the media, but mainly social media, people's comments about things that go on in the world, and their insensitiveness towards it doesn't help, because all it can do is it can create hostility in people, right, and victims' families and so on and so forth, to hear such atrocious statements, and that doesn't make the world a better place. So please know that is how it affects people, and be kind and pay it forward in the world, because if you do that for two friends and they do that for two friends, we'll definitely have a better place for for us and our children and their children and so on and so forth to live. Okay, so I'm going to try and get out of my melancholy and go in and see what Whitehawk has to say for you. So I apologize for the mood, but there's good reason for it. And yeah, let's go see what Whitehawk has to say. Indeed, he says, September was indeed a month of atrocities and indespicableness, n'est-ce pas, he says, was it not? And I know I'm shaking my head, yes, like definitely like a donkey going, yes, big yes, right? And he goes, it most indeed was, my child, it most indeed was for many in your area as well as around the world, he says, if we look at it globally. But what I want to say to most of you, he says, is that indeed it was a tough month, but sometimes blessings come out of atrocities, he says. And maybe for some it's too soon to hear that, he says. And I apologize, but for others it'll be right on the mark for you to hear, he says. And for that I am pleased, he says. And for many others, he says, they will never come of age with it, he says. And that is their choice, their prerogative. But for those, he says, who are listening, this is what I want to say to you of this upcoming month. It will be a month of laggedness, of laziness, of remorsefulness, of just plain jet-laggedness. And for many others, it will be a month of gaiety, a month of melancholy, a month of desperation. And yet for many others, the month will seem as though it does not exist at all. It will seem as though it never existed, as though it was never meant to exist. But above all, he says, you will find that it will be a month of atrocities against the willpower of many. It's like almost like I just seen I want to say, let me get this right. So let me describe him. So he's dark-skinned, and he has like I'm going to say gorilla hat on, like that army gorilla stuff, hat on and the outfit, and he's got a rifle, and he steps on a person. This person's alive. He pushes them down with his foot. He steps on them, and he has a rifle, and he points the rifle at this person. So like a militant group or guerrilla or something like that. He goes, yes. He says, correct. That is exactly what it is. For many, there will be many atrocities, he says, Tracy, against them committed, he said. None the likes that we have seen. Again, he says. And so I cannot share with you good news, children, and I'm sorry that I cannot discourage this behavior, he says. But I wanted to come and forewarn you and tell you that October in all again will be another melancholy, difficult month to process, to get through. So find your solace, children. Find your solace. Find your solace in yourself, he says. Find your solace out in nature. Find your solace out by the water, in nature, in a stream, he says. Take in the crisp, clean air, he says. If you cannot take in the crisp, clean air, he says, then find yourself at peace in a moment of tranquility somewhere, he says, that is peace and quiet. That is what I wish for you, my children. And that is what you must do to get through the month of October. God bless in this newfound knowledge, children. I am sorry to deliver unto you a balm, he says, but it must be done. God bless, he says. God bless. And then he just rides away on his horse. Slowly, the horse is walking, but he's riding the horse. And there's some person kind of reaching up to him as he's riding the horse, and he's reaching down to that person as well. And this person, this little girl with colored skin and jet black hair. Yeah. She reaches up and gives him a scroll, like a paper. And Whitehawk reads it. And he looks down at the little girl and he says, indeed, it is very much that, little girl. Indeed. And so I'm curious to know what, of course, is on the scroll. And he shows it to me. And it says, the end. On the scroll. The end. And he does the scroll back up and he gives it back down to the girl. And she waves goodbye to him. And she's dressed in like brown cotton or something, or brown and beigey cotton. I don't know if it's a pattern or just the mix of material. I'm not sure. And he saw. Sorry about that. I was just wrapping it up. The little girl just waved goodbye to Whitehawk as he was sauntering off. Okay, so that was our reading for the month of October. I wish I could say it would have been a better one, but let's move forward in our life, and maybe it will. Maybe Whitehawk won't be all right about it. Like I said, channeling is not an exact science, and as a channeler, we have to accept that sometimes we are right and sometimes we are wrong. And as always, there is always hope and faith to get us through the rough times. All right, well, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you on Monday for a weekly reading. Subscribe, it's free. Like, share, comment, be kind, and keep it clean. God bless. I'm Tracy for A Channeler Channel.